The crimson glow of Rothia's dying star cast strange shadows across the crystalline spires of the capital city. Elder Myron stood at the observation platform, his translucent body reflecting the ominous light that now dominated their sky. 3 cycles ago, that star had been gold and steady. Now it pulsed with violent energy, each surge destabilizing the delicate balance that had sustained Rothian civilization for millennia. Elder, called Leia, her young form shimmering with anxiety. Her crystalline structure, normally pristine, bore dark striations, a physical manifestation of the radiation already seeping through their atmospheric shields. The Galactic Council has responded to our latest transmission. Myron turned slowly, the movement causing his body to refract light in painful flashes. And their decision? Leia's form dimmed, the universal Rothian expression of despair. They reject our appeal for evacuation assistance. The transmission says. She paused, her internal resonances wavering with disbelief. They say our species is evolutionarily inefficient and that intervention would be an inappropriate allocation of resources. The word struck Myron like physical blows. For 8,000 cycles, their civilization had devoted itself to art, philosophy, and the mathematical certainties of existence. They had deliberately chosen to forego interstellar capability, seeing no need when their world provided everything they required. Their very physiology, evolved to live in harmony with Rothia's stable environment, now betrayed them. They were too fragile to survive the journey through space, too specialized to adapt to new worlds. Continue monitoring all channels, Myron instructed, though hope had become a scarce resource. Perhaps another civilization will hear our signals. Leia hesitated. There's more, Elder. Zadorn, the council member from the Andorian Collective, sent a private transmission. He warns that the council has issued a non-interference directive. Any species that attempts to aid us will face sanctions. Myron's crystalline heart resonated with a frequency of pure sorrow. They were truly alone. Days melded in his cycles as Rothia's star continued its death throes. The planet's inhabitants gathered in the great resonance chambers, sharing memories through harmonic communion, a desperate attempt to preserve their culture even as their bodies began to fracture under increasing radiation. Then came the signal. It arrived not through official council channels, but through the emergency band, a weak transmission, distorted by radiation interference, speaking common with a peculiar cadence. This is the Earth vessel horizon to any Rothian receivers. We've detected your distress signals. What is your situation? Leia was the first to respond, her confusion evident in the dissonance of her reply. You're human? But the Galactic Council. We're aware of the Council's position, came the response. The voice belonged to Captain Olivia Blake, though the Rothians didn't yet know her name. We're also aware that you're facing extinction. We might be able to help, but you're not members of the Council. You were rejected for membership 3 times, according to our records. Why would you help us? A moment of silence preceded the answer. Because we're human. Because it's the right thing to do. Aboard the Horizon, Captain Olivia Blake stood surrounded by her senior officers. The ship wasn't large, humanity's first deep space exploration vessel, more scientific laboratory than warship. Their mission had been simple: map the outer rim systems, establish cultural contact where possible, and prove humanity's worth to the Galactic Council. Now, they faced a decision that could alter not just their mission, but the fate of their entire species. Captain, said Commander James Wright, I need to remind you that Earth Command specifically instructed us to avoid conflict with the Council. Intervening here directly violates their non-interference edict. I'm aware of our orders, James. Olivia studied the holographic display showing Rothia's deteriorating status. I'm also aware that 8 billion sentient beings are about to die because the Council has decided they're not worth saving. Dr. Elaine McCarthy stepped forward, her medical expertise evident in her analysis. The biological data we're receiving suggests the Rothians have extremely limited tolerance for environmental changes. Their crystalline structure requires specific harmonic frequencies to maintain cohesion. Space travel for them would be catastrophic. Then we make it less catastrophic, said Marcus Chun, the ship's chief engineer. His fingers danced across his console, pulling up schematics. We have the data from the Nebulous 7 rescue, the crystalline entities we evacuated from that collapsed star system. We can adapt those protocols. The Council threatened sanctions against any species that helps, interjected Security Chief Sarah Davidson. That could mean trade embargoes, restricted access to jump routes, even military action. Olivia looked at each of her officers in turn. I won't order anyone to participate. This operation, if we proceed, must be voluntary. But I will tell you this, we stood before the Council 3 times, asking for membership. Each time, they cited the same reasons for rejection. We're too emotional, too impulsive, too driven by sentiment rather than logic. Maybe they're right. But those same flaws are telling me we can't abandon the Rothians to die. Dr. Elaine was the first to step forward. The Hippocratic Oath doesn't have a clause for intergalactic politics. I'm in. Marcus nodded. The engineering challenges alone make this worth attempting. Count me in. One by one, each officer committed to the mission. Even Commander Wright, despite his reservations about protocol, couldn't argue with the moral imperative. Very well, Olivia announced. Open a channel to Rothia. Let's see what we can do about saving a civilization. The Horizon's descent through Rothia's atmosphere was unlike anything in the standard manuals. The ship had to adjust its gravitational shields to compensate for the harmonic interference from the crystalline structures below. As they broke through the cloud layer, the crew gasped at their first visual of the planet's surface. Cities of pure crystal stretched across continents, their spires reaching impossibly high into the red-tinged sky. Between these urban centers, vast resonance gardens created standing waves of harmonic energy, visible as shimmering aurora-like formations. It was beautiful beyond description and heartbreaking in its fragility. Elder Myron waited at the landing coordinates, accompanied by a delegation of Rothian leaders. They had prepared as best they could for the humans' arrival, but the sight of the ship still created dissonance within their harmonic matrices. Nothing in their culture had prepared them for physical visitors from beyond their world. As the airlock cycled open, Olivia Blake stepped out, followed by her senior officers. She had read all available data on Rothian biology and customs, but theory proved inadequate for reality. The aliens before her were tall, slender beings of living crystal, their bodies refracting the ambient light in a constant display of color and movement. I am Elder Myron. The lead Rothian introduced himself, his form resonating with formal harmonics. On behalf of my people, I express our gratitude for your response. But I must ask, are you truly prepared for the consequences of helping us? We're prepared to face whatever comes, Olivia responded. But first, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Dr. McCarthy, if you would begin your examination. Over the following cycles, the Horizon's crew worked tirelessly to devise a solution. The challenges were immense. Rothian physiology required specific harmonic frequencies to maintain cellular cohesion. Disruption of these frequencies, as would occur during space travel, would cause their crystalline bodies to destabilize and eventually shatter. Dr. McCarthy collaborated with the Rothian healers to develop hybrid chambers that could maintain the necessary harmonic frequencies while also providing protection from space radiation. Marcus and his engineering team worked on modifying the Horizon's medical bay and cargo holds to accommodate Rothian refugees. But as they worked, the political situation grew increasingly tense. Captain, reported Communications Officer Lu Zhang, we're receiving direct transmissions from the Galactic Council. They're demanding immediate cessation of all contact with Rothia and our departure from the system within 12 cycles. Olivia studied the formal document that appeared on her screen. And if we refuse, they haven't specified consequences yet. But there are reports of Council fleet ships mobilizing toward this sector. The crew gathered on the bridge to discuss their options. Outside the viewports, Rothia's star pulsed more violently, its radiation output now affecting their own shields. We can't abandon them, Dr. Elaine stated firmly. We've already identified thousands of refugees who meet our modified transport criteria. Children, primarily. Their crystalline structures are more flexible, more likely to survive the adaptation process. The Council's deadline is drawing near, James reminded them. If we don't leave soon, they may move from threats to action. Leia, who had been serving as liaison between the species, stepped forward with news that shifted the entire dynamic. Elder Myron has a proposal. The Rothian Council of Wisdom has decided to transmit their entire cultural database to your ship. Our history, art, science, philosophy, everything. If we cannot survive as a people, perhaps our legacy can. That's not acceptable, Olivia declared. We came here to save lives, not just data. Captain, Marcus interrupted, excitement in his voice. I think I've solved the transportation problem. What if we don't try to transport them through normal space? What if we use harmonic bubble technology, create resonance chambers that function as miniature versions of their home environment? The engineering team worked around the clock to implement Marcus's solution. They created crystalline chambers that could maintain perfect harmonic resonance while protecting their occupants from space travel's harsh realities. Each chamber could hold 50 Rothians in a state of harmonic suspension. As preparations continued, Elder Myron's own crystalline form began showing signs of radiation damage. During one of his visits to the horizon, he confided in Captain Blake. I will not survive this crisis. My exposure to the solar radiation has been too extensive, but I wanted to tell you, your species' capacity for empathy may be what the galaxy needs most. Don't count yourself out yet, Elder, Olivia responded. We haven't given up on any of you. The deadline arrived with predictable council punctuality. A fleet of 12 warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Rothian system. Their commander, a Korthak named Vaxlon, opened communications immediately. Human Vessel Horizon, this is Fleet Commander Vaxlon. You have violated Council Directive 3421B. Cease all contact with the Rothian species and prepare for boarding inspection. Olivia took a deep breath before responding. Fleet Commander, we have approximately 15,000 Rothian refugees who will die if we abandon them to their fate. We cannot, in good conscience, comply with your order. Your species' emotional responses are noted and irrelevant. You have one standard cycle to evacuate the system. Further noncompliance will be met with force. The bridge crew looked to their captain, waiting for orders. The first of the Rothian refugees had already been loaded into the newly constructed resonance chambers. The Horizon's cargo holds now housed hundreds of Rothians in harmonic suspension. All departments prepare for immediate departure. Navigation, plot a course directly back to Earth. Communications, send a burst transmission to Earth Command explaining our situation and actions. As the Horizon's engines powered up, sensors detected energy spikes from the Council fleet. They were charging weapons. Defensive systems online, reported Security Chief Davidson. Though I should note our shields weren't designed for fleet-level combat. Evasive maneuvers, Olivia ordered. Do not return fire under any circumstances. Our mission is humanitarian, not military. The Horizon accelerated away from Rothia, her sublight engines pushing beyond recommended limits. Behind them, warning shots from the Council ships created brilliant explosions against the cosmic backdrop. Then something unexpected happened. The long-range sensors detected new ships emerging from hyperspace. Dozens of them, representing at least 15 different species. Among them were the Vectar, the Silurians, and even a few Andorian vessels. All species that had previously experienced the Council's tendency to abandon worlds in crisis. Zadorn's face appeared on a priority channel. Captain Blake, your actions have inspired others. Many species have witnessed Council indifference firsthand. Consider this our non-official, completely coincidental appearance in this sector. Commander Vaxlon found his authority challenged. The new arrivals, while careful not to directly engage the Council fleet, positioned themselves in a loose formation that effectively blocked pursuit of the Horizon. This is unprecedented, he transmitted to his superiors. Multiple species are showing unprecedented coordination in this sector. The response from the Council was equally unprecedented. Rather than escalate to full combat against nearly a quarter of their member species, they issued a temporary containment order for the Rothian system and recalled the fleet for strategic reassessment. The Horizon, now free to continue its evacuation operations, returned to Rothia. Over the next several cycles, they managed to transport nearly 20,000 Rothians to safety. Not all could be saved. Elder Myron and many of the older crystalline beings were too far deteriorated by radiation exposure, but they chose to remain behind, using their final cycles to maintain the resonance chambers that protected the younger generations. The journey back to Earth was tense, but ultimately successful. The modified resonance chambers proved effective, maintaining harmonic stability for their crystalline passengers. During the voyage, profound cultural exchanges occurred. Rothian children, adaptable in ways their elders weren't, began learning human customs and language. They shared stories of their home world through harmonic performances that brought tears to hardened crew members' eyes. Upon reaching Earth, the refugees faced a mixed reception. While governmental officials worried about potential repercussions from the Council, the public embraced their new crystalline neighbors. The Rothians' unique artistic abilities, particularly their harmonic architecture, began integrating with human structures, creating wonders previously unimagined. Leia, now one of the designated leaders of the Rothian survivors, addressed the joint assembly of world leaders and refugee representatives. Her voice, translated through harmonic converters, carried the weight of a species' gratitude. You took us in when the galaxy turned away. Your empathy, which others see as weakness, has become our salvation. We pledge our knowledge, our culture, and our loyalty to humanity. Together, we will show the universe that compassion creates strength, not vulnerability. The political aftermath rippled across space. The Council, faced with widespread criticism from member species and potential member candidates alike, initiated a comprehensive review of their intervention policies. They couldn't fully reverse their stance without losing face, but subtle changes began appearing in their directives. More importantly, a quiet alliance formed among the species that had either helped or sympathized with the Rothian rescue. Humans found new trading partners, shared technology, and, eventually, true friendships across stellar cultures. In the months that followed, the survivors worked to preserve and adapt their culture to their new circumstances. Rothian crystal gardens were established in select locations on Earth, their harmonic resonance creating healing zones that benefited both species. The architectural influence proved transformative. Human buildings began incorporating crystalline elements that made cities more efficient and beautiful. Captain Olivia Blake and her crew were court-martialed upon their return, a procedural necessity that nonetheless resulted in commendations rather than punishment. Earth Command, while publicly censuring the Horizon for diplomatic protocol violations, privately celebrated humanity's first major act of interstellar heroism. Dr. McCarthy continued her work with Rothian biology, publishing papers that revolutionized medical understanding of crystalline life forms. Her research helped other species with similar structural characteristics, earning humanity recognition as a valuable contributor to galactic science. Marcus Chen's engineering innovations, developed during the crisis, led to advances in harmonic technology that improved space travel efficiency across the known universe. The resonance chambers that saved the Rothians found applications in protecting delicate cargo and even in medical treatments. A year later, humanity received an unexpected communication. The Galactic Council invited them to reapply for membership. The invitation came with a note that read, "Recent actions suggest a species growth worthy of reconsideration." Debate raged across Earth about whether to accept. Some argued that joining an organization that had so callously abandoned the Rothians would compromise human values. Others contended that change could best come from within. Eventually, humanity chose to apply once more, but with a condition: They would only join if the Council established a humanitarian intervention protocol, ensuring no species would ever again be abandoned to face extinction alone. The Council, still dealing with political fallout from the Rothian incident, accepted the condition. On the day humanity took its seat among the galactic community, Leia, now grown and bearing children of her own, stood with Captain Blake at the ceremony. Their species had become deeply intertwined, not just politically but culturally and even biologically. Young humans raised among crystalline beings developed enhanced harmonic perception, while Rothian children demonstrated unprecedented adaptability. "We saved each other," Leia observed, her crystalline form now bearing subtle patterns of color that human eyes could better appreciate. "You saved us from extinction, and we gave you a bridge to something greater." Olivia smiled, remembering that desperate decision to ignore protocol and answer a call for help. Sometimes the most human thing to do is simply to care about others' suffering. The universe, vast and often cruel, had been changed by that simple principle. Compassion, derided as a weakness by pragmatic civilizations, had proven to be a strength capable of reshaping interstellar politics. The rescue of Rothia became a symbol, proof that the galaxy's future belonged not to the coldly calculating, but to those willing to risk everything for the preservation of life and beauty. In the crystalline spires that now adorned Earth's horizon, harmonic resonances merged with human music, creating art that spoke to something fundamental. In both species, children played in gardens where solid stone flowed into liquid crystal, where human laughter harmonized with Rothian chiming. The stars watched as humanity and Rothia built something new together, a civilization founded not on efficiency or advancement alone, but on the radical notion that every life, every culture, had intrinsic value worth preserving. In saving the Rothians, humanity had not just gained allies. They had redefined what it meant to be truly advanced. And in the quiet moments between stellar cycles, aboard ships traversing the void, crews of mixed species would share stories of the horizon and its brave captain. The tale became legend, passed down through generations as proof that in a universe vast enough to contain infinite possibilities, the choice to help others remained the most powerful force of all. The Galactic Council, for all its authority and technological superiority, had learned a lesson written in crystalline and flesh. That true civilization measured itself not by how efficiently it could abandon the vulnerable, but by how creatively it could save them. Years would pass, and the bond between humanity and Rothia would only strengthen. Hybrid technologies emerged, combining human innovation with Rothian harmonic science to create wonders previously thought impossible. The first deep space stations designed jointly by both species revolutionized travel through previously unstable regions of space. On Rothia, Memorial Day, humans gathered with their crystalline friends to honor those who hadn't survived the solar catastrophe. Elder Myron's last transmission, recorded as Rothia's star finally collapsed, became a sacred text for both species. "We die knowing our children live among friends." What greater hope can a species have? Leia's children, born on Earth, but carrying Rothia's memory in their crystalline hearts, would grow up in a galaxy slowly learning that compassion could be its greatest evolutionary advantage. They would join mixed crews on exploration vessels, stand as ambassadors in council chambers, and continue building bridges between species that the council's cold logic had kept apart. The horizon itself, refitted with Rothian harmonic technology, became humanity's flagship, a symbol of the moment when one species' choice to care had changed everything. Its crew rotation included positions permanently reserved for Rothian officers, ensuring their perspective always influenced human exploration missions. On quiet nights, when Earth's moon shared the sky with crystalline installations that sang in harmonics only partially audible to human ears, children of both species would look up and see the same stars that had once separated their worlds. Now those stars connected them, reminding all that even the vastness of space couldn't diminish the warmth of compassion shared. The universe remained as vast and dangerous as ever, but within it, Two species had proven that empathy could be as powerful as any technology, that the heart's decision to help could echo across light years and transform destinies. In doing so, they hadn't just saved lives. They had saved the possibility of a kinder cosmos. And somewhere in the cosmic web, other species began to notice. Slowly, carefully, they began reaching out, asking questions, sharing concerns. The ripple effect of humanity's choice continued to spread, creating connections that the Council's careful policies had never achieved. The galaxy was learning that perhaps the most dangerous species weren't those driven by emotion, but those who had forgotten how to be moved by another's suffering. In that learning, in that slow but steady shift toward valuing life over logic alone, the future began to reshape itself around a simple truth. When given the choice between calculation and compassion, the most advanced species would always choose to care. In this new reality, forged from crisis and sealed with sacrifice, humanity and their crystalline allies stood together on the threshold of tomorrow. Their rescue of each other had become the foundation of something larger, a movement that would eventually transform the very nature of galactic civilization. The stars no longer watched indifferently. They bore witness to a partnership that proved compassion could light the way through any darkness, that the simple choice to help could save not just lives, but souls, cultures, and ultimately, the conscience of the entire galaxy. As the last page of this chapter closed, new stories began to unfold among the stars. Stories of hope, cooperation, and the enduring power of simply choosing to care when it would be easier to turn away. The Rothians and humans had not just survived their trial. They had emerged stronger, kinder, and ready to face whatever challenges awaited them among the infinite possibilities of space. Their journey together had just begun, and the universe would never be quite the same again.